Welcome to episode 6 of One Step Ahead Live with Mark and Ian, a weekly power hour of tech and techniques to market your guys' design business. Episode 6. Today we are talking about how to write a killer about page. And we got Mark there. He is sharing. He's going to pop in with us in just a second. Now, let me just introduce the topic for all of us real quick. So, how to write a killer about page. First of all, let's ask ourselves, what is the importance of an about page, right? How can it make a difference? So specifically, we're talking about the about page of your website. Now, obviously, this is the page that almost everyone is going to come to first when they come to your website. People don't care about what you do until they know who you are, right? And it's that page that really builds trust in a lot of way. And so obviously it is one of the most important pages of your site. It can really make or break the experience of someone getting to know you. So what are the challenges that people are facing with their about pages? Well, I can tell you what I see, but all you out there, I would like to know, comment in, what challenges have you faced writing your about page? In my experience working with my clients, as many of you guys know, I design websites and most of my clients are interior designers. The challenges that I see people facing are generally that they feel like their about page feels like or sounds like everyone else's about page. It doesn't distinguish itself. And another thing is that they feel that it comes across a little disingenuous, because it's written in the third person about them. It's talking about their accomplishments and credentials, and a lot of times on the rest of their site, it's written in the first person. It's written in a way that feels very personable, and then someone comes to their about page, and then it's written in the third person. So there's kind of this disconnect, and it's not coming across personable, genuine, authentic, right? So the challenge is how to create an about page that it both feels authentic, but also kind of hits those key points on, spelling out your credentials, what makes you credible as a professional. And that's not easy. That's really not easy. There are, actually specialists that specialize just in writing about pages. But today, what we're going to do is we are going to kind of summarize tips that we think can really help. And we're actually going to look specifically at 3 celebrity designers who we think are doing it quite well. And we're going to identify techniques that they're using on their about page to spice it up, to come across personable and authentic. So after we look at the 3 designers, Mark is going to be talking about how to then use that bio page and sprinkle it around on social media, how to incorporate it into social media so it's not just living on your website. Okay.
So who are we going to hit number 1?
All right, so let's get into number 1. First designer. Mark, hit me with the first designer there that's on the slide.
She's just a little famous.
Just a little bit.
Little.
Hello, Barbara Barry. Now, Barbara Barry, one of the biggest names in design, obviously. Love this profile photo of her, by the way. Just so sophisticated. Hey, Nancy. So sophisticated and professional and everything. Just shout out to Barbara Barry for this shot right here. Now, Mark and I were looking at Barbara Barry's about page and seeing what kind of lessons that we can take away from Barbara's about page. So, Mark, hit me with the next slide there, and let's look at what Barbara Barry has done.
Well, first of all, let's talk about that image. I mean, it's really professional, inviting. It's really a crisp, fresh image. There's not a lot in there also. Do you know what I mean? It's not really that busy, and it really showcases her. You know exactly where you're at when you see this. This is Barbara Barry. So that's another thing, at least for me, that I like. It's kind of like it's very kind of, for me, it looks like a welcoming photo. You know what I mean? She wants you to look at her. She wants you to find out a little bit more about her.
Yeah, absolutely. And go back to the photo real quick, Mark. I just want to say one more thing. I think it takes a lot of courage to do a profile photo like this. Let's think about what this is saying. It's this profile photo it's really exuding confidence. It's like, I know who I am, and you can trust me. And I think that a lot of us, when we're doing our profile photos, we're trying to make it appealing, trying to make it, cool or whatever. And in this photo here, I feel like it's just throwing all that out the window, and it's just, this is me, take it or leave it, So I really like that.
Here's the other thing I like about the photo too. Actually, I'm hearing echo. Okay, here's the thing. What I like about the photo, for the most part, is the fact that it looks like she just walked in the door, sat down, and took the photo. There doesn't look to be like a lot of okay, we got to get your makeup done. Okay, we have to take 50 shots. It really does look easy. It does look like she just sat there, took a photo. I mean, and that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? And that's really not an easy thing to do as a photographer too. It's like, that's not an easy thing to accomplish, to actually be able to kind of create a photo that doesn't look so produced, doesn't look so edited. This looks like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, talk to me. So I don't know. For me, the photo speaks loud.
Absolutely. All right, hit me with the next slide. Let's see what lessons that we can take away from Barbara Berry's About page. Kim says, and it looks like she gets stuff done. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, totally.
So here, what we're looking at right now on Barbara Berry's About page is a quote. It's a testimonial from one of her clients. And what you can't see on this slide, because we couldn't fit it in, is that this quote actually comes after her bio. So we've got the bio, and then directly under the bio, we've got a line, and then we've got this testimonial, this quote. And what struck me about it was, it's not just a one-liner, two-liner. It's a very beefy and thoughtful, quote, testimonial from one of her clients, and she gives it equal weight to her own bio. It's just as many words as her own bio. I have never seen this done on anyone else's About page before, and I sat with it, and I thought about it. I was like, what does this do for me? And I tell you, what it did for me was, it kept what she was saying about herself, really basic, really straightforward, and to the minimum. She just gave the essentials, and then she let someone else speak for her. She let someone else praise her for her, which is modest, and which is a great way to do it, so. And let me just read for a second, just a couple lines from her About page. The first paragraph reads, Barbara was raised in a family of artists. She is an active plein air painter that takes her inspiration in the subtle colors and forms in nature. Barbara founded her Los Angeles design firm in 1985. Okay, so it's just so plain spoken, so direct. It's not overly selling. So often, sometimes what I see in bios is that the story gets kind of mixed in with the selling of the person, and to me it comes across a little bit pushy, a little bit disingenuous. And she has risen to such a height that I think she feels comfortable and confident just saying, hey, this is me, and I think that can be a really successful approach and lesson that we can all take away from it, So, but my main takeaway, and then Mark, I'll hand it to you. My main takeaway from Barbara that people can be trying, and check out Barbara's page to see how this is done, is to do a very succinct bio and then a beefy testimonial underneath. Bart, what were you going to say there?
Okay, look, check this out. This is something also people need to keep in mind. Everyone wonders if they should put a testimonial on your About page. Barbara Berry, pretty much one of the design icons out there. She's huge. She puts a testimonial on her page. That should tell you you're on the right track. I mean, if Barbara Berry has actually a testimonial on her page, I mean, we already know she's amazing, but she has a testimonial on her page. It should show you a little bit if you're questioning putting a testimonial on your page. Yeah, of course you should. If someone like Barbara Berry, who's already established, everyone really knows her design chops, books, I mean, product lines and everything, has the kind of like the humbleness enough to put a client or a person testimonial, then that says a lot. You know, in my opinion, that says like, hey, you know what? I really do care what people think about me. Here's something, and here's someone telling what they think of me. And does she really need it? Yeah, not really, but she does put it in there. So it adds a little bit in my eyes to the about page.
And here's another little detail that may have been missed. Check it out, you guys. Look how the testimonial is actually signed by the client's full name. Okay, they've got the last name on there. This is almost unheard of on websites to put the last name of a client on there because people, generally like their privacy. What does this say? To me, it says that the client is saying here that they are proud to have worked with Barbara Berry. They're proud to have worked with her, and they don't mind putting their name out there. And what does that say to the reader? What message does that send to the reader? You know, and I mean, think about that. And so, if for all you out there watching, consider this. Imagine if you can get some of your clients to give permission that you use their last name, and think about the message that can send in the way that you present yourself on your website and your branding.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, also one really quick note: we totally love comments, questions, and everything. So if you have any questions or comments, I'm going to tell you something. Ian's one of those guys who is a whiz about creating websites, content strategies, and everything. So if you do have questions about your about page, bio stuff on like social media, ask away. We'll put your question on the screen, and Ian will be happy to take his best shot at it. Pretty darn good shot. So I just want to give a shout out for that for anyone who's watching. If they have a question specifically about an about page, please feel free to like comment in.
Let's go to the next slide, Mark.
Number 2.
All right, Mark, you want to talk a little bit about this profile photo before we talk about his bio?
I like it. Okay, Nathan Berkus is doing a little something different. He's looking away. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's very inviting. The colors are very the colors are nice, and it has that kind of like natural glow to it. You know what I mean? That warm, inviting, bright kind of feel to it. He's smiling. It really is an inviting kind of like, hey guys, let's have a conversation, but different than the Barbara Berry photo because he's looking away. What does that mean? That means, hey, like how can I say this? I'm not saying let's talk, but I'm saying come on in and join my family, join in the community, I want to hear what you have to say, which for me is really, really great. I love this photo of him. I think it looks fantastic. And let's be honest, Nate Berkus is someone who's in the public eye. So, a lot of people don't really know exactly what his persona is. You see a lot of images of him. You see him come on Oprah and all this kind of stuff. You don't really know what type of person he is. So for him, the about page is really, really important. It's that page that's going to make people go, well, I wonder if he's actually going to even respond to me if I'm curious about anything design related. And this picture does do it in my mind. How about you, Ian?
Yeah, let me give you my 2 cents. But before I do, I'm curious, all you out there watching right now, hit in the comment, which photo kind of resonates with you more so far, Barbara's or Nate's? All right, I want to hear you guys' thoughts too. But for me, when I look at this photo, I like it. I like the lightness of it. And I realize that not everyone is really comfortable looking directly into the camera. And it's some people kind of look better looking directly into the camera. Some people look better more kind of a candid like this. And I think that's the one thing that people can take into consideration is kind of what's a better look for them. I like both styles, and this one's a great photo. So,
I like it. Okay, Kim's a fan of Nate's, but she says it basically it fits his brand, which I totally agree with. I mean, Nate's kind of like that smiling good guy. Come on, let's sit down and have a conversation type guy. Like, it's funny. I think Barbara Berry, if you actually met with her, she'd be more of like formal. She'd be more like. Let's talk about it. Let's come to my office and talk a little bit more, like a little bit like that. Nate Berkus seems like more of those guys, like a guy who'd be like, hey, grab a seat on the couch and let's kind of talk about how you're doing, how's everything going, and then let's hit the business after maybe a nice glass of wine.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, James says Barbara. James, tell us a little bit of why you like Barbara's.
Yeah.
Barbara's is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're different.
For sure. They're both really good.
I mean, like I said, Ian, and like I tell you, like Ian really is a whiz with it when it comes to all this website stuff and content. He went out and he spent hours looking for designers that he could say, these are different styles and these are good about pages. So I think you really can't go wrong with either looking at the camera or like looking away, but it definitely does send a message.
Yeah, it definitely sends a message.
All right, let's go a little bit. Let's go to a little bit of the next part of Nate Berkus' about page.
Okay, cool. So the thing that really jumped out to me about Nate Berkus, and first of all, before I get into this, I just want to say that there is no wrong way to do an about page. What we're getting ready to see three different styles: Barbara, Nate, and then and Christopher Kennedy, who's coming up next. And really, I've looked at hundreds of design websites, and there are tons of different ways that people do it. And so there really is no wrong way. So what we're looking at right now is just some, ways that people are mixing it up. Mark, go to the previous slide real quick, because that's actually what I wanted to hit on. Look at how Nate leads with a quote. Okay. So in Barbara's, we had the testimonial, we had the quote from a client. Now with this, we're leading with a quote from Nate in his own words, written in the first person. Okay. What does this do? For me, this sends a very personable vibe. It tells me something about Nate's values. Let's see what Nate says here. He says, he starts the sentence with, I believe. I believe your home should tell your story. What you love most collected and assembled in one place. Let me repeat that. I believe your home should tell your story. What you love most collected and assembled in one place. Okay, so right off the bat, he's sending a very strong signal about kind of what he values in design, what kind of designer he is. He said, I'm not just going to make your space beautiful. I'm really interested in bringing this space to life for your individual, personality, which is obviously very important to a lot of clients. Now, he could have just started, with, oh, this is what I've done, this is who I am. But no, he's saying this is what I believe. And so I think that these two words, I believe, are something that can carry over to a lot of other bios too. Imagine for your own bio, starting with the words I believe. Okay, so now next slide, Mark. All right. So now,
another thing too is it could also be what you're focused on. Nate is really big with the retail side of everything. So maybe it's also a general kind of like a catalogist type of about me, page photo as well. So, all right, here we go.
Okay, so now as we scroll down the page, then it gets into the actual kind of what we would call a traditional bio, right? So, and it reads, since designer Nate Berkus established his award-winning interior design firm at the age of 24, his approachable and elevated philosophy has transformed countless homes around the world through his design work, home collections, books, television shows, and media appearances. Okay, so obviously he's kind of leading with kind of why, kind of what he's into and why really you should trust him. It really paints him in a really credible light. Okay, so in that first sentence, just listing the things, right? So that's an approach that people could use. As you scroll down the page, and we don't have a slide of this, but if you go to his website, you can see this. As you scroll down the page, he then alternates back to a quote, and it reads, my job as a designer is being able to tell my clients stories through the things they choose for their home, what they've seen, who they've loved, and where they hope to go next. Okay, so again, coming back to kind of his mission behind his work, his intention behind his design, his approach to working with clients, right? And after that, he alternates back again to the traditional bio. which reads his popular product lines include a bed and bath collection sold at Target, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, back to a quote. To me, decorating is the pursuit of what could make a room more interesting, more harmonious, better, what can be discovered, unearthed, combined. Okay, so my main takeaway from Nate Berkus's About page, the way that he's formatted is he's going back and forth between quotes in his own words and then bio written in the third person, and then quote and then bio. So it keeps it fresh, it keeps it personable, and if anyone's looking to kind of try this, look at the ways that he starts his sentences. Again, the words "I believe," "My job as a designer is," and then "to me, decorating is." Those 3 sentence starters alone, you fill in the blank on what on how you would finish those sentences. So that's my main takeaway from Nate Berkus. How about you?
Okay, I like it. Well, the other thing too is, you're the expert on this whole content writing, but I will say one thing too is, like, you have people like Nate Berkus. For the most part, Nate Berkus is seen on TV, and a lot of people have this big question mark on what do they really do? Are they just a TV personality? So he's also got to bring in the whole design aspect to his About page, because he's got to tell people, I am a designer. This is what I do. It's very, very important, because a lot of people are thinking, all right, this is a guy who, like, warms Oprah's couch, has some products out in Target. I'm not really sure exactly why I'm here on his website. So he has to actually bring it back home to the design consulting, which is very, very huge, because at certain times you're going to go to these TV personalities and you're going to say to yourself, like, what do they really do? Do they design? How does that kind of tie into what they're all about? So the About page for some of these people like Nate Berkus, they really need to also tie in the design aspect to show people, yeah, that's what I'm all about. I'm a designer. So.
I like that. Let's go to the next slide, Mark.
All right.
So Mr. Christopher Kennedy, based out there in Palm Springs, California, and first let's talk about this wonderful profile photo that he has here. This one is a totally different style than the first 2 we've seen. What jumps out to you about this photo, Mark?
It's just very open, very spacious, elegant, comfortable. Almost kind of like California, like kind of living. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like it. It really is nice. It's very inviting. It shows the entire room. Hey, come on, sit down. Let's talk a little bit. I do like it. I will say one thing though. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of is the fact that he's so far away.
Okay.
That I'm not a big fan of. But again, like you said before, there's no wrong or right way to do the About page. But I know he wants to focus on his design, chops. But at the same time, I really like to see a person's photo and kind of their image right when I hit a website about an About page to kind of know who I'm dealing with.
Right. Yeah, I totally hear you. And this is, this is obviously a very different approach. We could call this an environmental portrait. Photographing someone in their environment. The Barbara Barry's we could call a headshot, and Nate Berkus's we could call a model shot. That's a magazine shot. And what jumps out to me about Christopher's, a couple of things. Number one, it's showing that he is unmistakably a designer. If anyone had a question of who this person is and what he does, when they look at this photo, they get it. The other thing that jumps out to me is that, as you said, Mark, because he is so far back, actually, it takes a bit of pressure off of Christopher to have that winning expression on his face. If you think about Barbara's, Barbara, that expression is so curated and so perfect in a way, it's either going to take a really, really good photographer to bring that out of someone, or it's going to take someone who's just really comfortable on camera. And if someone is not super comfortable, on camera, or don't consider themselves photogenic or whatever, doing an environmental portrait like this can kind of take some of the pressure off, because all you got to do, because then all you got to do is follow the photographer's instructions about posing and look in a particular direction, and you're pretty much there. The environment is kind of doing your speaking for you. Whereas for Barbara's, it's her eyes and her mouth that are doing the speaking.
Hey, quick, for everyone watching, let us know what your thoughts are on Christopher's About page. We want to know what your thoughts are, if you have any questions on it, if that's a direction you're thinking about going, or if you just have, you're seeing it and it moves you in a certain way, positive or negative. We really want to address that and maybe explain it as well. Or Ian does. Me?
And also, we've looked at 3 portraits now. We've looked at Barbara's and Nate's and now Christopher's. And I'm curious for all you out there, kind of, which one feels like the best fit for you? Which one, or which one kind of makes the biggest impression on you? That you know. So, but hit me with the next slide there, Mark.
Right. So far, hey, look, just my 2 cents. I've seen all of them. I really like them all, by the way. Barbara's does resonate a little bit more with me. Like you said, it takes a bold person to put their entire, like, not only their entire person, but their entire face, pretty much. You know, right there. Center. I mean, that is very, very, that says something to me.
It's so really confident. It comes really confident. Yeah.
And she does it well. I mean, you know, you just can't, you know, when someone does something like that well, it just really is like,
yeah, she nailed it.
Golf clap. So yeah.
All right. So here we go on Christopher's About page. And I love Christopher's About page. I came across it a couple months ago and it just knocked my socks off. I just like sat there and like reread it a couple times. Now check it out. This is what Christopher's doing. All right. When you come to his About page, the very first thing that he does is he speaks to you directly, and check it out. He doesn't even speak to you about design. He just speaks to you about himself. And this is what he says: "I'm just a Golden State guy through and through. Sprawling ranch houses, draperies blowing in the breeze, afternoons in the pool. These are in my blood and in my soul." I mean, that.
Okay. Is anyone thinking Cat Stevens song or something there? I mean, that's pretty poetic. I like that.
Dude, he leads with poetry, you know, and he leads with who he is, not as a designer, but as a person. Okay, and let's think about this for a second. Like, what does it do? What is the power of that? Well, as we all know, people hire you as a designer as much for who you are and what's important to you as they do for your work, right? They want to know that they're going to feel comfortable with you. They want to know that they're going to vibe well with you and kind of be able to get along with you. So he says, this is who I am as a person. I'm going to read a little bit more of the page. The second part goes, I'm especially fond of afternoons.
Wait, Ian, before you do that, do you want me to do some like humming in the background or music?
Yeah. Give me some background, okay?
No. Okay, go.
I'm especially fond of afternoons in the pool. Because my father was older when he had me at age 56, he retired when I was quite young. After my parents' divorce, I spent summers and winter holidays with them in the Bay Area. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. I believe in traditions. Okay, again, these 2 words here, I believe. I believe in traditions. I believe in rituals of hearth and home. I believe in chopping vegetables, wrapping presents, and setting the table. Call me sentimental. Okay? So again, you know, telling us who he is, what he believes in, what he values, all right? And he kind of like, I mean, for me, when I came to his page, a lot of times when I go to someone's About page, I start skimming really quickly, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I've heard it all before. In his, I'm like, I have never heard this before, you know? So, you know, a lot of people say it doesn't matter what you're saying as long as you're getting someone's attention. And he definitely got my attention. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, but I also want to know kind of why he's credible as a designer. I want to know his design chops. Well, he does that. After this, what I call a reflection piece, after the reflection piece, he then does get into it. And as you scroll down, it says, a Golden State of mind describes Christopher's attitude towards design and life. I'm going to skip ahead here. Combining jet setting combining jet set nostalgia with California modernism. Christopher's work and products have been featured in Dwell Magazine, Lux, Interior Design, Elle Decor, California Homes, Traditional Home, Coastal Living. Okay, the list goes on. So, yeah, he does get into, or whoever wrote this does get into why you should trust him. But it comes secondary. Okay, he leads with poetry. He leads with who he is. He leads with values. He leads with what he believes, and then he follows with kind of all the other stuff. So this is I think a very confident and very modest way to write an about page. And again, the structure is write a reflection piece, and then have your traditional bio. Okay, how does that strike you, Mark?
I like it, man. I mean, he had me at Golden State, so no, it was good. I mean, I think it's bold. Again, I think when you go against the grain, you tend to really put yourself out there. And I think he did it, and it worked really amazing. I mean, it definitely resonated with you. And if you can resonate with one person, then it is definitely have more people are like looking at this. I think it's great. It shows him, it stands out from your traditional about page. No one's going to have what he put in his about page on their page. You know what I mean? Unless it's lyrics of a famous song that I haven't heard before. But it's an amazing about page. So I think he really nailed it.
That's absolutely right, Mark. No one is going to have exactly what he had. And actually, I actually am working with a client right now, and I was really inspired by Christopher's, and I worked with her on a reflection piece. And check this out. I'm just going to read the first couple of bits. It says, I have never felt like I belong to any one particular place. And in many ways, this has served me well. It created just the right mix and is the basis of my passion for interior design. Okay, so again, speaking in the first person, using words like feel, because I have never felt like I belong to any one place. She happens to be from Russia. Okay, and so, I think that, like I said, the lesson here is to write a reflection piece, to write it from the heart. And I think that the biggest challenge, I can already hear my clients saying, well, yeah, but how do I write this? I have writer's block. And I think that the best way to kind of do this is to look at the beginnings of sentences, right? I believe, I'm fond of, I feel like, what I see is, these kind of things. I think that can get people going. So that's a hot tip right there. Start with the beginnings of sentences. Okay.
Well, here's the thing also. Every designer has the kind of things that inspire them, whether it's travel, going for a walk, a glass of wine, good conversation. So, remember those things that inspire you to create amazing design projects and use them for things like your about page. Find the area where you feel the most creative, sit there with a piece of paper and start jotting down ideas. But instead of putting your focus on design ideas, put it on about page ideas, about content ideas. And I think you will be very surprised. The results will be very good, very positive, and you will open up a whole new side of, I think it's your left brain, that you did not know existed, and you'll create something like Christopher Kennedy did. Mm-hmm. My 2 cents.
And again, guys, we've just looked at 3 different designers: Barbara Berry, Nate Berkus, and Christopher Kennedy. They all the styles, vary a lot. But the one thing that none of them are doing, they're not doing what I call the traditional bio. What is the traditional bio? It is just that piece that's written in the third person about you. That's just talking about what you've done, and it not only does it come across a little bit bland, but it's not going to grab their attention. It's not gonna it's not gonna distinguish. So
you know what, Ian? We haven't even hit my favorite type of about page.
What's that?
The video about page.
All right.
My favorite, bar none. I don't think there's anything more expressive than when a designer or someone has an about page that's a video. I think video brings it to a whole new level. I think video makes you feel more connected with the person, what they're all about and everything. Video is what everything's gearing towards. So there's that one designer you introduced me to, Marie Flanagan.
Yeah.
And she has an about page that's a video, and the video is so nicely produced, nicely done. Video voice, like the voiceover, crisp, clean. And I, after that video, really feel like I know this person. So for me, the video about pages are my favorite, bar none.
Yeah, and those can be incorporated into a regular about page too. It could just be the video and then have the regular bio underneath. I mean,
they're awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about something that is near and dear to my heart. Drum roll, please. Okay, now bios kind of go hand in hand, in my opinion, with the about page. I'm a big stickler on branding, so I do think that part of what you're putting in your bios for Instagram, Twitter, even Facebook descriptions should come from your bio or your about page on your website. I think all this stuff should be streamlined. If you're a traditionalist, state that. If you're a Warriors fan, state that. But keep it all smooth. Keep it all basically on brand. Branding is very, very important. They want to know when they go to your social media presence or social media Instagram account that it's the same person. You know how it is. You go there, you're searching for someone, and you go to their account, and you're like, I don't know if this is the same person. Make sure it's abundantly clear that you're going to the same person, that they're going to the same person by having a little tagline from your about page, and your photo is somewhat something that you'd probably see in your about page as well. Keep the branding very, very much on point. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that, Mark. And so let me ask you, Mark, are there any ways that any tips that you would share that how to specifically incorporate a bio into these, or are you saying just port it over entirely, or just use specific bits? What would you say on that?
I would use something that I would hear, okay, here's something that I'm really big on. A lot of people don't like doing this, but I do. I love getting a little focus group of people together that I trust, having them in a little group on my email and sending them ideas. Hey guys, I have this. What do you think? The focus group is very diverse people, and people can give me their opinions on it. And each person is someone I value. Each person is from a different angle seeing it. And if I know all these people like it, we're good to go. So what I would say is look at your about page, find a few lines that resonate with you, that you say, okay, this is pretty cool. And then add them to an email, send them out to maybe 5 people that you trust, and get your feedback. Say, which one do you like better and why?
All right. Okay? I got one too, Mark. Check this out. Imagine if you had a reflection piece like Christopher Kennedy's, right? And you've got sentences that start with, I believe, I'm fond of, this kind of stuff, right? Imagine you actually break that down into all these little quotes, right? And you can just pair those with photos of your work, and you can actually use those as content. Your social media, because really, one little sentence is a little window into, who you are. So in other words, you spend all this time, writing a really nice reflection piece. You can then, what's the word? What's that word? Cross promote. Cross promote, or like can just reuse, recycle. That excellent content that you've already done. So.
Well, it's nice. I mean, you can grab like a nice photo of like a design that you've done, and then over there have nice like little kind of like have little quotes that has like something that you've said. Maybe put the image a little shade darker, couple shades darker, and then use that on Instagram. Have a little bit of like yourself coming out in it. Those things are really good for Twitter as well. So, or even just like what you're famous for, or one of the things you're famous for is creating videos with still images that overlay with either audio or with like those little quotes. I love those, by the way.
Cool. Yeah. Those are powerful and pretty easy to do too. All right. So yeah, next week.
Okay. Before we hit next week, let's talk about 3 things that they can take away from this. One is your about page should be a reflection on what you feel your mission is, who you are all about, okay? Your about page should be something you're very, very proud of. You should look at it and say to yourself, that's amazing. That's something that does reflect and say who you are. Don't you think, Ian?
All right, I like that. I would say number 2 thing to take away is try to find a way to incorporate a quote from you written in the first person. using words like "I believe," or "my job is," or "to me design is," those kind of things. I think that just doing that alone can really elevate an about page.
Okay, and the other thing, testimonials. You guys work with so many clients, and sometimes it's easy to kind of, how can I say it, finish one, move on to the next. Grab a bottle of wine, go over there, get a video testimonial, get a quote from someone who you really, really value, a client. That's another thing that's amazing too. If you guys are looking to expand in your local market, find someone that you've done a project for, use their testimonial on your about page, and also maybe go over there and get a little video clip on why they thought you were the most amazing designer in the world, and add it to your about page or add it to your website.
And again, what we learned from Barbara today is that a testimonial doesn't have to be just a little snippet. You can actually do like a pretty beefy testimonial, and maybe even try to see if you can get that person to let you use their last name, so that it really sends the message that people are proud to have worked with you.
Okay. And number 4, this is an additional one. Try to keep your about page, your bios, your photos, everything pretty much synced up. You know what I mean? So your about page should also somewhat, the imagery and the verbiage should somewhat be used on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. All that stuff creates cohesive branding, which is very, very important to people when they are trying to find you and they're not really sure if they're on the right page. Make sure all the imagery, all the verbiage is somewhat flowing right and everything's kind of succinct, because if it does that, it's going to really send a message that you're organized and this is who you are.
And my last action item is if you're interested actually in getting some of these sentence starters that I've talked about, I've actually written a blog post. I published it on my website in the last couple of days about how to write a bio. And I've got, like, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 sentence starters on there that you can use to really elevate your bio. So just, if you're interested in that, check out housedigitaldesign.com and head over to my blog and you'll see it right there. That's House Digital.
In order to get that, you have to say super center starters. How many times in a row? 10 times? Tongue twister. If not, Ian's not sending it to you. All right, let's hit next week. And clearly I've had way too much coffee. All right, what are we doing next week, Ian?
All right, how to successfully set up a Facebook Live event. So now, obviously, with this show, we've been creating Facebook Live events to promo it. There is kind of a lot that kind of can go into this to make sure that you maximize the people that show up to your event. Mark has really gotten this down to a science, and I've learned a lot from him. So next week, we're going to kind of go through the nuts and bolts, kind of a checklist, if you will, of things that you should be doing to maximize your audience, prepping for when you go live.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are going live on their personal pages. They want to switch over to go on their business pages, but their business page, and they just don't want to lose a lot of the audience, and they want to do it right. They want to make sure that they should be promoting, how they promo, how they set up an event and everything. So we're going to give you guys some tips on how basically to be able to do that correctly. Because I'm a big believer in this. If you get all that stuff out of the way, like your audio, your video, and all your methods down perfect, you can focus on the content. And if you have quality content during these live broadcasts, at the end of the day, you should be very proud of that. And you won't be ashamed 2 years later if someone finds one of your weird videos and goes, oh my God, what's that all about? So if we can get you guys to help you to set up these live videos smoothly, the content will flow and everyone wins.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Let's take it home, Mark.
Okay, until next week, we will see you guys. Thank you. Hopefully you've learned something about the About pages. Ian's available for your questions.
Hit the next slide, Mark. Hit the next slide. Hit the next slide.
Okay, one more slide. Okay. Again, if you guys feel like this is content that people will actually absorb and it's something that's useful, share it. If not, we won't hold it against you. Like I said, hopefully you guys are enjoying these. Hopefully you guys are learning. And we'll be back next week to talk a little bit about how to set up a live event like we just discussed. Again, this is Mark and Ian wishing you guys a fabulous rest of the week and a fabulous weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, guys, this has been episode 6 of One Step Ahead Live with Mark and Ian. a weekly power hour of tech and techniques to market your design business. And like Mark said, if you guys are digging this, share it, let people know, and also feel free to reach out if you've got any questions about the content that we've done today. Thank you everyone for commenting and engaging, and yeah, see you guys next week.
Bye guys.
See ya.